Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video update. Today we're going to spend some time taking a look at Ethereum. We do expect Ethereum to see some pretty significant growth once we see those spot ETFs go live, which I think is only really a matter of time. We have seen a bit of a correction here for Ethereum, right? We've come down a total of 15.46%. So could this be one of the last opportunities to take advantage of this kind of dip before we get into the next big surges to the upside? As I get into today's video, guys, do smash that like button if you find it useful, informative, maybe even entertaining. And if you are new to the channel, welcome. Why don't you subscribe and stay up to date with all the content that we do here at Cheeky Crypto? Let's get started with the analysis here for Ethereum today. So here we have ETH paired up with USDT. We're on the one-day Binance chart. And as you can kind of see here, guys, we've had a pretty decent correction to the downside. As I said earlier, 15.46% since the 27th of May. So it's been pretty significant. Now, the interesting thing internally here is the structure in which it's moved down towards the yellow line being the 50 simple day moving average. And I know a lot of people will be concerned over whether or not we see, a continuation of this slippage to the downside. A lot of people might be looking at this through a really bearish lens. We hit 1.618, we've had a 5-wave move, that kind of stuff. But internally here, actually, it doesn't look terrible. For example, this initial kind of drop right here, we take this over to our wick high, we can see that we've come nowhere near the 1.618 to make this impulsive, meaning that we do, of course, just have 3-wave correction internally here. So if I show you that, it looks like this: 1, 2, and then 3. We did, of course, drop down a little bit more, and it's possible that we'd still have a little bit more volatility to be seen here for Ethereum before we kind of get into the next kind of surges. But this is a very corrective pattern. If anything, I would say that we're probably more likely to see this as a WXY, X, and Z. So WXY, X, and Z, indicating that we are probably done with the correction. We might see a little bit more volatility, as I said, as the market's incredibly difficult to predict in some senses. But for the most part, from a technical analysis standpoint, we're finding good support right here on the 50 simple day moving average and 50 exponential moving averages, the blue line coming through here. Our 200-day EMA is our white line coming through here. This is the trend filter, currently sat at $3,019, indicating that this is still a really strong area of support. We came down here most recently on the 1st of May and 15th of May. You can see coming down, not testing it exactly, but coming very close to testing our 200-day EMA. It's possible that we find ourselves with a brief kind of rally and then another move to the downside where we come in line with our 200-day EMA, indicating that we might still find ourselves a little bit of price slippage in the future over the next several weeks. But for the most part, this looks like a clear breakout situation. We have a great run to the upside that is an impulsive break. We can see that right inside here where we have a nice clean structure for a 5-wave correction. We're looking at this as being a corrective move to the downside under a 3-wave pattern. I do expect a relief rally before we continue that move to the downside. And then that there, I think, is going to basically come in line with our 200-day EMA, which will then be a trigger point for us to kind of launch back to basically what I think will be new all-time highs for Ethereum. Okay, so I wanted to kind of spend a little bit of time to say where we are right now is a prime area for dollar cost averaging, in my opinion. Okay, now if I go ahead and throw on smart money concepts, you can see that there's this big fair value gap that we might come down and finish off later on, in late July, for example, although time in the market is incredibly difficult to kind of get there. But under that idea that we have a 3-wave correction, you could potentially see this fair value gap getting filled out before we rally to the upside. We are in an incredibly bullish structure overall. This hasn't changed for quite some time. You can see here that we had a change of character into a bullish state of play. This basically actually occurred really on the 15th of August 2022, but really got confirmed on the 15th of April 2023, okay, with that next move breaking the previous high. Our current low for the bear market for Ethereum, it sits at 881. I personally did think at the time we were going to drop down lower than that, but this break here, it was a clear break and we've got a fantastic run to the upside. There was a couple of moments where we thought maybe we could still see continuation to the downside with a change of character, but this was also then broken into a bullish structure as we started to really rally up. When we break up higher than the previous swing high that we saw on the 12th of March, it's going to basically give us a BOS signal, which will be our break of structure to confirm that we are in fact bullish. This was a high, anything higher really than $4,093. So Ethereum's actually in a really good spot, and I do think we're going to see some pretty good growth in the longer term for ETH. Let me turn off smart money concepts and bring up our stochastic RSIs. I still see us with some corrections to the downside on the smaller timeframes. As I was saying, we still look for a little bit more moves to the downside on the 1 hour, 4 hour, 8 hour timeframes, but the daily's in a really good spot, and I believe the weekly is as well. If I roll this up into a weekly timeframe, you can see here we've still got plenty of some room to move to the upside on the weekly chart, but expect volatility on those smaller timeframes, which will have an impact here on the weekly stochastic RSI as well. Roll this back into our daily time frame, and what we'll do is we'll turn off the stochastic and throw on the divergence. You can see that there was bearish divergence on the 27th of May. This was an indication to basically get out of ETH before we saw that 15% correction. This was a great spot if you did see this, and you could take advantage of that momentum shifting. Here you can see the RSI corrected all the way down, currently sat at 46.76, lower than the 50 level, indicating still a little bit more room to the downside overall. But I'm expecting a relief rally before we get into that next leg down, which I think will be another fantastic opportunity for dollar cost averaging. Again, you can let me know in the comments below if you agree or disagree with that. From an Ethereum volume point of view, you can really see some interesting data going on here. As we corrected down initially, we saw a decrease in our volume profiles, indicating that there wasn't really much of an appetite for selling. This was basically from when we had the high on the 12th of March 2024 down to that low of the 1st of May. We saw the break to the upside, which did have an increase in volume, but it wasn't sustainable longer term. And once we kind of topped out, we had that bearish divergence. We also saw volumes dropping off once again, indicating again there isn't much of an appetite to be selling off Ethereum. It's just more of an accumulative phase overall. So when we take a look at Ethereum through the lens of technical analysis, I would say, yeah, this seems to be a pretty good idea, in my humble opinion, to be looking at Ethereum from a cumulative point of view rather than a panic selling perspective. From our weekly chart, we can still see we've got plenty of growth potential in ETH on the longer term. At the moment, we've only rallied up 364%. In the previous bullish market, we saw 5,851. With Ethereum spot ETFs, I do think we have potential to really rally up quite strongly. I've marked on the chart here some key areas of interest: $11,127, $15,561 and $21,972. And of course, if we do see a significant surge that kind of dwarfs all of those, we do have that wild card at $52,000 Ethereum. Now, I am not sat here saying that that's a guarantee and that we're likely to see $52,000 for ETH, because I do not think that is likely to be the case. But somewhere between 11, 15 and 20, I think those are very reasonable price expectations on the back of Ethereum spot ETFs. You can give me your price predictions in the comments down below. If you have found today's video useful and informative, smash that like button, guys. I really do appreciate that. If you are new to the channel, why not subscribing? Subscribe and stay up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. And if you haven't done so yet, click this video and stay up to date with some of the other projects that are going on in the crypto space.